So in the last class, we were discussing about the file management system, why we are using file management, what is a file, what we mean with the record, database, field, what are the differences between them. Then we have discussed the file management objective and the minimum user requirement, what actually user require from the file system point of view. Now moving forward, file system software architecture, how we are managing our file system in our system. So this is a block diagram, how your files are managing inside the system. First is the user program, the application that you are using. Okay, like your Excel, PowerPoint, doc file, notepad file, paint, any kind of editor or platform where your user program or you are able to write any data. Then there are different uh, accessing methods, access methods we can say. Access methods are file, pile, sequential, index sequential, indexed, and hashed. These are the access methods, how we are accessing our data or record. Okay, these are providing you the different methods. Generally in a system, there is only one type of method that will be implemented, not all. Okay, but here why it is mentioned, like you may use pile, sequential index, or hashed. Then a logical input output means uh, you are requesting for some input output operation here. Then basic IO supervisor will be there, who is handling the input output devices. Like suppose there is a single printer and more than one process at a time requires that printer. So some supervising technique will be there, who will be maintaining all those kind of issues. Then your basic file system, what we are studying right now. Then your disk device driver and tape device driver, how you are accessing the secondary storage with the help of disk device drivers, tape device drivers. Tape is another type of secondary storage media where you can store your contents. So one by one we need to discuss all these things related to file system architecture. Then what is a device driver? Device driver means these drivers: this device driver, tape device driver. What it is mean? It is at the lowest level. Okay, communicates directly with peripheral devices. Only the device driver can directly communicate with the external sources like IO operator, IO. If you want to use your printer or any other input output device or CD, then only device driver can be able to read or write data from your input output devices. Responsible for starting IO operations on a device. Obviously, any device, any external device is just a hardware part. If you want to interact with the hardware, that suppose your CD or your external hard disk, that is not having any kind of battery, that is not having any kind of uh, processing units that you can run that particular. Only the device driver is required to access those kind of hardware devices. So device driver is must for any kind of hardware device. Processes the completion of an IO request. If an IO request is coming from the user, then this IO request must be completed with the help of device driver, considered to be a part of the operating system. Now suppose I am giving you a system, a computer system. I am not installing any kind of software in the system. Even I am not initiating RAM, even not the ROM, EEPROM, nothing is written in your system. is it's a complete piece of hardware. You cannot able to run that system or switch on that system. It will not open. It will not switch on. Why? Because there is nothing inside the system that will manage the hardware operations. Whenever you are installing your operating system, then only you will be able to uh, manage your work in your system, able to manage your hardware part in your system. Without software, it is not feasible to use your system properly. In your system, you are using mouse, keyboard, screen. What is this? This is all about hardware part. If you want to access those, so you require corresponding drivers. Sometimes whenever you install a new mouse from any shop and you want to connect it with your system, so you must be having some kind of software associated with that mouse, because if your operating system does not allow you to directly access that particular hardware, then you need to install that software externally. So device driver is that much important. So you need to think, if your hardware is not having any kind of processing unit, then a device driver must be there. But nowadays we are having so many systems, so many printer devices that are having some memory content as well as the processing units. Now printer are well equipped with the operating system itself. I hope all of you have seen so many printers that will be able to photocopy or print without having any system. You can directly plug your pen drive and you can take the printout. It's now possible. Why? Because there is a associative operating system that is running on that particular peripheral device. Peripheral device is nothing but the devices, the external devices which we can use or we can detach after a certain period of time from your system. Then the second part is basic file system. As you can see here in the diagram, next one is basic file system. It also referred to as physical IO level. Primary interface with the environment outside the computer system. So if you want to interact with any of the peripheral device, then this is the uh, first operating system part that is going to interact with that. It deals with blocks of data that are exchanged with disk or tape systems. Now we are talking about the data part. Driver only maintain the connection between your system and the external media. They are only providing you the connection. They are not copying the contents or writing the contents back to your peripheral devices. Only the connection is provided by the drivers. Once you have uh, connected with your secondary storage or external device, then there is no use of device driver. Okay, connection has been maintained. Now the basic file system will be using or changing the contents of that particular media. Concerned with the placement of blocks on a secondary storage device. So if you want to place some data on your secondary storage, then basic file system will help you in that. Concerned with buffering blocks in the main memory, considered part of the operating system. So we can say that this is also a part of operating system. But device driver sometimes a part of operating system, and sometimes it's not a part of operating system. You need to install by your own, the drivers part, because nowadays operating systems are having so much space in your system. That's why we have removed so many device drivers from your operating system, just to limit the size of your operating system. If we include all the type of external sources in your operating system by default, then it will be so much heavier, like 15 to 20 GBs, and you will have to spend extra memory for that operating system. And 99% of the drivers will not be of use. That's why we are removing the device drivers from the different versions of Windows. Why? Because we want to minimize the size of the operating system. 1 second, guys. Yes. Now, the basic IO supervisor part. Where is basic IO supervisor? Just above your basic file system. Now, you have communicated, you have established a connection with your external devices. Here, you are maintaining, sending some data to the external sources with the help of basic file system. Now, what this IO supervisor is doing? Responsible for all file input, output, initiation, and termination. If you want to access some kind of external data, then you need to establish and initiate. Initialization is required in your programming part. This is all about programming part. If you want to end the connection, then the basic IO supervisor will end up the connection. Okay, so control structure that deal with device IO, scheduling, and file status are maintained. Supervising means if two different processes or more than two processes are required to change some data simultaneously, then this basic IO supervisor need to be in front, and it will manage which particular process is going to change the data first. Otherwise, if two persons are changing the common data, then there might be an ambiguity case. Only the later person's data will be saved in the system. First, first process is keeping a data 10, and second process is placing a data 20. So if second process is running after first, then the data will be 20 in your memory. Otherwise, if process P1 is running late, so your data will be 10. So there will be an ambiguity situation which we call race condition that should not be there. That's why we are using supervisor, basic IO supervisor technique. So it will be responsible for the scheduling and file status are maintained. Selects the device on which IO to be performed. Okay, there are so many IOs connected to your system. Which IO device you want to, it will select, you have to go there. Concerned with scheduling disk and tape access to optimize performance. Okay, disk scheduling we will be discussing in a later point of view, because this is a numerical part. How disk scheduling you are maintaining, how fast you can access your disk, hard disk. IO buffers are assigned and secondary memory is allocated at this level. IO buffers means some memory locations will be there so that you can copy your data in that buffer, and further this buffer will be loaded to your RAM. It's a part of the operating system again. Then just above supervising IO, there is logical IO. Logical IO means Actually, it's not a IO operation. Okay, it is just the logical IO. What is the difference between logical IO and the actual IO? It enables user and application to access record. It is just enabling. It provides general purpose record IO capability, maintains basic data about file. So all the metadata about the file that you want to place or you want to save in your system, in your secondary storage, the data is to be maintained by the logical IO. Logical IO will also give you the different kinds of operations that you can perform on a particular file. So it will give user the list of operations that you can perform with those kind of media. Suppose there is a video file, so will you able to edit that particular video? Will you able to crop that video? Will you able to play that video or change the content of that video or the merging of video or the color changing of the video? What are the different operations you can be able to perform on the system? That is to be provided by the logical input output. Logical input output can be directly seen to the external user. Here you can see logical input output is here. So logical input output, with the help of logical input output, you will think that what are the different operations you can perform on your system with input output devices. Now the major part, that is the access methods. Access methods means how you are accessing your data. Now we are talking about accessing. Accessing means, suppose you are having 2 GB of memory or 2 TB of memory nowadays. If you are having 2 TBs of memory, then how fast you can access your media and how, with which method you want to follow. Level of file system closest to the user. It provides a standard interface between application and the file system and devices that hold the data. Different access methods reflect different file structure and different ways of accessing and processing the data. So there will be so many kinds of access methods. Access method means if we are having uh, trillions or millions of blocks, and one out of those million blocks is having your actual data that you want to retrieve, how you are accessing directly that particular block of data and how fast you can go there. It is not the case that you can go in your hard disk anywhere within zero time. No, it's not feasible. There might be a case, some locations are easier to grasp and some locations are not easier to take. Why? Because of the techniques you are following in your access methods. Suppose we are using a sequential method. Consider a grid or a matrix of 10 by 10. Okay, 10 rows and 10 columns. I want to use 5 5, block number 5 5, fifth row, fifth block, fifth column. If you are using sequential method, one by one, you will first go through first row, then second row, then third row, then fourth row, then you will come to fifth row. And by accessing each field, first column, second column, third column, fourth column, and then fifth column, it will be hectic for you to go through that particular kind of data. If you want to access the first value in sequential method, that will be easier for you. So it is the access method who will decide how fastly you can access your data. But this is also dependent upon how you are storing your data in the system. That means the structure. What is the file structure you are using without uh, uh, without having a particular fixed kind of file structure? you will not be able to search the data fastly. Suppose in a system, I'm giving, suppose I want to maintain a data with all my students in the class. If I am maintaining the data for all the students and randomly roll number uh, 599, then C1, C2, D1, D2, I'm just placing these roll numbers randomly. So if I want to check whether whether a particular student is in my class or not, I need to go through all the data sequentially for checking whether that roll number belongs to my class or not. But if I am maintaining my data in a sorted order, sorting is there, roll number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on. So if I want to check whether 43 roll number is in my class or not, so I can directly go to check 50. No, 50 is too much. Then I will check 40. Then it should be after 40 and before 50. Like a binary search, we can go through our data. It will be fast enough. It will be easier for me to access the data in this way. But data should be in sequential form. Data should be in shorted form. So there are different kinds of access method that will help you to search fast. Now this is the elements of file management. That is not that much important, but you can easily understand. User and program commands are there. Then directory management is there. Some operation file name you will be providing. User access control is here. Then your file structure is here. How you are storing your files in the system, how you are accessing your files, that you can say access methods. Then file manipulation functions. What are the different functions you can use? That is the basic IO, logical IO, that is providing you the different file functions. These are the records. Then records, you will be changing from main memory to secondary memory. This is the flow, how you are changing your data. Secondary storage to primary, primary to our buffer, buffer to our file structure, and file structure to your user application program. So this is all about the file management, how your files are managing. Now, file organization and access. This is the major part we will discuss in the next classes. File organization and access methods. These are the different access methods, how you are managing your different type of structures: index, sequential, file, direct hash, index hash, and then we will be discussing one by one all of them, how we are changing the data in our system. That's it for today. Now CR is requested to take the transaction shot and send it to me now. If you're having any difficulty or doubt, now you may ask.